to adapt, and maybe they can have a completely different style offense that fits not try to fit a round peg in a square hole, but now, have another kind of offense. They have a lot of athletes. They can do a lot of things, right? I'm not talking about that, guys. I'm not saying Wiseman won't be a very good player, at least a DeAndre Jordan type. If that's his floor, and that's what I'm hearing scouts think his floor is DeAndre Jordan, that's a hell of a player. If you ain't going to be any worse than that, a hell of a player, right? But there is a requisite amount of shooting you need in the modern NBA from distance. See, I'm not saying they can't play another style. I'm saying let's look at the lineup they're going to run out there. Steph's the greatest shooter ever, right? Mm-hmm. Who else can shoot at all? Wiggins is a bad shooter. He'll shoot a lot of threes, like a 33% shooter, and that's because he's made improvements. He is not a shooter. Draymond has been awful from three, and that's playing on the Warriors where he gets the spacing, right? Because where Steph and Clay launch from, not all threes are created equal. It gives the defense has to rotate from farther away, so Dre has more time, and even with that, the dude's shooting under 30% from three. Had one or two seasons. Wiseman's not a shooter. Pascal is not a shooter. Show me where the shooting comes. You need.
I am so fascinated by you. I'm so fascinated. I'm so fascinated by you talking to basketball people like you know more than us. We watch the games. We know what the hell you're talking about. But in the end, when you look at the Western Conference, you not just look at the team we're talking about here. We got to look at some of the other teams and what they're expected to do or not expected to do. Portland was a question mark. They came on strong in the bubble. Before the bubble, they weren't qualifying for the playoffs. Memphis was a question mark. We understand that. New Orleans was a question mark. They could be on the come up. I'm saying take into account coaching. Take into account experience. Take into account marksmanship. The bottom line is Andrew Wiggins was no scrub. If Jimmy Butler can join Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and turn them into a playoff team from a perennial lottery team, I think a healthy Steph Curry in that system, being coached by Steve Kerr, shooting the ball the way that he can shoot, with Draymond not looking for him to shoot, but defend, rebound, pushing the ball up the floor, creating playmaking opportunities for other guys, finally having a post presence, because it damn sure wasn't Zsa Jr. or Andrew Bogut from years ago. You take all of those things into consideration. I'm talking about potentially squeezing into a playoff. That's all I'm talking about here. We're out of the championship equation. We get all of that. But can we definitively look here and go like this? All of those teams I mentioned, you know for beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're going to step up and produce better than Golden State. Can we definitively say that?
Wiseman's the right choice, Stephen A.? So you're saying Wiseman,
I think so, absolutely.
Stephen A.
I think so, yes. Yes.
Stephen A., you said Andrew Bogut, but didn't Andrew Bogut win a world championship with the Golden State Warriors?
No. I mean, no. I'm not knocking Bogut. Hold on, Jay. I'm not knocking Bogut. I'm talking about offensively. He was not a presence. Wiseman will be a presence in the low post offensively. I know that Bogut was great defensively as a rim protector. This is nightmarish. All championship hopes are out the window.
Good Thursday morning. Those are the words of Stephen A. Smith. It's hard to disagree. The Warriors, I don't know, 24 hours ago we're thinking Steph will be back healthy. Clay will be back healthy. That'll re-energize Draymond. We got the number 2 pick in the draft. We're going to go from 15 and 50 and the delete 8, those are the teams that didn't make the bubble, to being right back to being a Western Conference Finals and NBA Finals contender. But fellas, hang on. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin presented by Progressive Insurance. Bart Scott in. Jay Williams will be here at 8 a.m. Eastern time, fresh off the draft last night, which we'll talk about in a bit. Get his thoughts on Clay. But guys, any way you slice it, you heard Brian Windhorst, you heard Stephen A. Smith. 519 days. You could look at it that way. You could look at it as 17 months. You could look at it as 1 year and 5 months. I'm talking about the last time Klay Thompson played a basketball game. The last time we saw him limping off the court, Game 6, 2019 NBA Finals, left ACL. The latest news we hear, 519 days later, a little over a month away from the start of the season, a right leg injury suffered in a workout yesterday. Steve Kerr, team trainers, on the way to Los Angeles. As we find out more, fellas, this is nothing short, Key, of a gut punch.
It really is. I feel bad for Clay, having known him and his father and his entire family. It's just one of those tough situations. A guy has been sitting on the sideline for 17 months, just waiting to clamor to get back to December 22nd when the start of the NBA season starts back up to taking the floor. It certainly is derailing in terms of his basketball career and how long he's waited to get back on the court. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people look at it and say, well, there goes the Warriors' NBA championship hopes for this upcoming season. I never really, in all honesty, never really thought about an NBA title for them. You got two players coming off major injuries. They got to get back in the fold. That's a long ways off. You still got an opportunity to be a strong playoff contender, a push-type team to get in there. But I never really felt like they were going to unseed the Lakers or unseed potentially Brooklyn or even, for that matter, another team that's right in L.A. and the Clippers. Mm-hmm. So, when I look at it, it's just another one of those setbacks for the Golden State Warriors and their fans.
Key, you might be the only one in the world that thought that they weren't going to move to the top of the pack. You talk about with Wiggins, I always assumed that maybe Wiggins was going to be a piece that they can trade and they're going to go get another player that complements them best. But also, I wonder yesterday, how did the injury that broke right before the draft affected their draft? Because I thought that maybe, that pick in Wiggins would have been on the move for like another Bradley Beal or another superstar to come in. Like with Klay coming back, even before Durant came, I believe that they were one of the best teams, and they've won championships. Now, I understand that their benches have taken a hit. No Livingston, no Iguodala. Those were the guys that I think were the glue guys that really were the bridge when they were really going. The fact that they had length at certain positions and they had defensive versatility. But, I mean, when you talk about Klay, you talk about Curry, I thought they were ready to serve notice that they were back, and I'm sure they had receipts for everybody that was kicking them while they were down. But as far as a talent-wise, I mean, you add Wiggins, that's a big three. I know Wiggins is a guy that, is a slasher. He's untapped potential. Everybody's waiting for him to take that next step to be a superstar. But when you talk about the spacing that those two provide, two of the best shooters in the game, it opens everything up. And Wiseman at 7'1", being that unicorn, being that bogut. When we've seen, Golden State dominate, it's been because they had those type of players to fill those roles. Like now, I just wonder, what they're going to do, and are they going to be proactive out in free agency? I mean, I think the NBA is front and center right now, and I mean, it can't be in a better spot. You got the draft last night, you got free agency tomorrow. I wonder how Klay injury and what these results of this MRI affects what they do moving forward. But I thought they were absolutely top three in the West, when you talk about bringing back a player the caliber of Klay.
When you look at Zubin, you look at what they've done in the past prior to getting Kevin Durant, much like Bart said, it's true, they were a very obviously NBA championship caliber team, but that was so many years ago. Everybody's a little bit older now. You still got Draymond Green on the team, but Draymond Green is not even the same Draymond Green that he was 2 to 3 years ago. It's totally different now. And I know we always want to make sure that we root for the champions and we're part of the championships and all these sort of things when it comes to Golden State because we like Curry, we like Klay personally, but when you look into the deep parts of the basketball realm, the Lakers certainly went out and got Schroeder, which is a big major move. They've already gotten Anthony Davis, who's going to re-sign with the Lakers. LeBron James is there, and I'm sure they're going to make a couple more moves along the way. So when you look at that, the Clippers free agency starts tomorrow. I'm sure they're going to make 1 or 2 moves. Everybody else within the conference. Houston's not done yet, whatever that is. So as you start to just look at things unfold, this is why I say I never really felt as though they were getting ready to challenge those teams at the top to come out of the West to play somebody out of the East.
A few things here just to quickly mention before we get a little perspective from Brian Windhorst, which is really interesting. Number one, Bob Myers, the team's GM, said, look, there was an additional stress on me last night. There's no way I can't say that. I was really thinking about Klay while thinking about the draft. League-wide response was immediate. LeBron tweeting, praying a lot. Klay Thompson is cool like it's super minor. We'll hope that is indeed the case. Draymond Green, prayers up for my brother. And then James Wiseman, who became the latest member of of the Warriors just a couple hours after the news, essentially saying as soon as I saw the news, it was kind of down for me emotionally. But as a team, we've got to get his back no matter what, and he's going to be in great recovery. Going on to say, all praise be to Clay, my teammate. He's going to be just fine. Now, the one thing Key mentioned is the NBA season is starting December 22nd. There were some people that thought it might start in January, could even maybe start around Martin Luther King Day. Some people were saying it could start in March because that would have fans a better chance to get there if a vaccine is approved, tour in the pipeline. But with it being starting on December 22nd, just 71 days from an offseason after Key's Lakers hoisted the championship to opening night, truncated, Key's favorite word, truncated offseason. We're going to start earlier than expected. Brian Windhorst is saying maybe Clay had an expedited recovery and it might have cost him a little bit.
Klay Thompson has been in Los Angeles ramping up, trying to get ready for the start of the season. You know, he did have a lot of time with recovering from that left ACL, but he hadn't gotten much court time, and he didn't play full out when the Warriors had their training camp in the fall. And so here we have all of a sudden the beginning of the season about a month sooner than everybody was expecting. So Klay Thompson has been down in LA, from what I understand, for over a week, running in these games with other NBA players, and suffers an injury today.
You know, I don't know if it was sped up. 17 months is a really long time to recover, no matter what it is for an ACL. 17 months.
Yeah.
This is not 1979. So the ACL injuries with the medicine that we deal with in today's society is like that, Zubin.
Boom.
You know, you can get back in fashion. What happens in people that kind of know about ACLs, who have had a history with ACLs or been around a lot of ACLs, certainly could tell when a person is compensating and what an injury is. It's the left leg, you're compensating. So most likely you're